Most people walk past laundromats without giving them a second thought. A fogged-up window, a tired, open 24 hours sign, a couple of people staring at their phones while clothes spin in metal drums. It all looks ordinary, almost dull. But what if that unremarkable little place was quietly making more money than some serious businesses that look 10 times more impressive from the outside? The laundry business doesn't care about how glamorous it seems. It cares about how often people need it. Renters in small apartments without washers, students in dorms, families whose machines broke down, busy professionals who refuse to sacrifice their weekend to stand over a washing machine. They all share the same problem. Dirty clothes never stop appearing. They pile up in baskets, on chairs, in bags. At some point, the pressure of that pile becomes stronger than the desire to save a few dollars or a bit of time. And someone pays to make that problem disappear. Step inside a neighborhood laundromat, and at first glance, nothing looks like big business. Rows of washers and dryers, plastic chairs, rolling carts, a vending machine with tiny boxes of detergent, people coming in with overstuffed bags and leaving with neat stacks of folded clothes. But if you look a little closer, you start to see a pattern. Every single machine is a tiny cash register. A few dollars per wash, a few more per dry, multiplied by dozens or hundreds of loads every day. Machines don't get tired. They don't complain. They don't ask for time off. They just keep spinning and charging load after load. Owners who share their stories often describe the same moment of realization. They buy or build a laundromat, thinking it's a modest local venture, and then discover it's a cash flow system disguised as a boring storefront. The upfront cost can be significant. The lease, the plumbing, the wiring, the commercial-grade machines. But once everything is installed and running, the business becomes a simple equation of volume. The doors are open, the lights are on, and the machines quietly turn water, electricity, and time into money, whether the owner is physically there or not. What makes it even more surprising is how invisible this money is in everyday life. Nobody posts glamorous photos of owning a laundromat. There are no headlines about the next big laundry startup going viral. Saying, "I own a laundry business," rarely earns the same reaction as, "I run a tech company," or "I launched a new app." Yet behind that lack of status, there's a business model that fits exactly what many authors on entrepreneurship describe. Simple operations, recurring demand, and a product that never goes out of fashion because it's tied to basic human habits. We are stuck in this traffic jam forever. Look again at that strip mall laundromat you pass every week. It doesn't just serve the few people you happen to see through the window. Some customers show up before work, others late at night, others on a fixed routine, every Sunday, every payday, every time the laundry bag hits a certain weight. The business doesn't have to convince them to try something new.
What are you doing?
It just has to wait. Clothes get worn, get dirty, and eventually need to be washed. The laundromat is simply the place where that inevitability turns into a transaction. And sometimes, the visible storefront isn't even the whole story. That one location might be part of a small chain run by the same owner.
Come on,
it might have a wash and fold counter in the back where customers drop off bags and pick them up later, already folded. It might handle regular loads for a nearby gym, cafe, barber shop, or Airbnb host.
Come on, move already.
What you see, a room full of machines, is only the surface. Behind it might be a tightly organized system of routes, schedules, and recurring clients that never walk through the front door. From the outside, it still looks like just a laundromat. But once you see it from the owner's perspective, it becomes something very different. A simple, repeatable mechanism that quietly collects small payments from a need that never disappears. And that leads to the real question this story is building toward. How did something as ordinary as washing clothes turn into a hidden, billion-dollar business model that almost nobody talks about, even while they use it all the time? Laundry is one of the few problems in life that never waits for the right moment.
Markets can crash, jobs can change, trends can come and go. But somewhere in every home, clothes are still piling up in a basket, silently demanding attention. That's the quiet power behind the laundry business.
Wow, this
It's
is
built on a
amazing.
need that doesn't care about the
Help,
economy,
get me outta here.
technology, or social media. It just keeps returning, week after week. Think about how many people live in situations where doing laundry at home isn't simple. Small apartments without in-unit machines.
Shared housing with limited access to old, unreliable
This
washers.
makes no sense at all.
Dorm rooms with
How
a
am I
couple of
supposed to use-
overworked machines for an entire floor. Even in buildings that offer laundry rooms, there might be long waits, broken units, or inconvenient hours. For millions of
This
people,
is so
just
fun.
doing laundry at home isn't an option. It's a hassle. A laundromat turns that chaos into a straightforward ritual. Walk in with a bag, walk out with
It's
everything
working.
clean.
The car wash
Then there's
is
time.
finally operational.
Modern life is full. Work, commuting, classes, kids, side projects, social life. Doing laundry at home usually means multiple small steps stretched over
We are
hours.
proud to introduce
Starts
our
a load,
brand new
wait,
electric vehicle
remember
charging
to move it
and
to the
vacuum.
dryer, fold later, maybe forget it in the machine and rewash. At a laundromat, you can
Look
run
at
several
them
loads at
go.
once,
This
dry
is the
everything
best.
together,
Help!
and
Get me
finish
outta
in an
here.
hour. That compression
too
of time
much.
is a
Stop the mach-
huge part of the appeal. Customers aren't just paying for machines, they're paying to get a boring, repetitive task over with as quickly as possible. The demand doesn't only come from households. Businesses quietly sit at the heart of the laundry economy. Restaurants and cafes need spotless tablecloths, napkins, and staff uniforms. Gyms and yoga studios churn through towels and mats. Salons, barbershops, spas, clinics, daycare centers, all of them rely on clean textiles to operate. They could invest in industrial machines and staff to handle it in-house, but many
Pull
don't.
forward now. Let's
It's
go.
easier and often cheaper to outsource that burden to a dedicated laundry service that picks everything up, processes it, and brings it back ready to use. This is where the everyday customer and the invisible customer overlap. The same infrastructure, a room full of machines, industrial washers and a back facility, or a centralized plant, can serve both a student with a single bag of clothes and a local gym with a standing
I don't
order of
understand.
towels. To the casual observer, it looks like a simple laundromat. To the owner, it's a hub where different streams of demand converge. Walk-in traffic, drop-off bags, regular commercial loads, each one feeding into the same system. Another key detail. Laundry demand flexes, but it doesn't vanish. During economic downturns, people might eat out less, travel less,
The
and
gears are
cut
overheating.
nice-to-have expenses first.
I don't know. I can't
But they
shut
still
it down.
need clean clothes for work, school, and daily life. They might stretch the time between
Everything is
washes,
breaking
but they
down.
can't stop
What
altogether.
am I gonna do?
That makes laundry far more resilient than many other consumer-facing services. It's not immune
Look
to
at that
change,
foam go.
but it's anchored to a basic human requirement: hygiene and presentability. When you combine all these elements, limited in-home access, lack of time, the need for hygiene at home and in business, you start to see why the laundry industry is so large yet so understated. It doesn't grow on hype. It grows on repetition.
Why is everyone else
Loads
moving
today,
except me?
loads tomorrow, loads next week, all feeding into a constant cycle of dirty to clean and back again. Once you understand that the demand for laundry doesn't really stop,
Welcome to the
only
Unlimited
shifts
Wash
between who
Club.
does it and where it's done, it becomes
Oh,
clear
no.
why this
Look at that
boring
traffic.
niche has turned
We
into a
won't get-
massive, often overlooked market. The real question then becomes, if the need is this constant, how exactly do owners turn each of those
Work, you
loads
piece
into
of
steady,
junk.
scalable cash
I don't
flow?
have all day for this.
From the
We're all
outside,
gonna die.
a coin laundromat looks almost too simple to
Stop
feel like
this
a real
thing right-
business. Rows of washers and dryers, a change machine bolted to the wall, a handwritten "Last wash 9:30 p.m." sign. Nothing about it suggests complex strategy or serious money. But the moment you stop seeing it as a room with machines and start seeing it as a cluster of synchronized cash registers, the entire picture changes. Every washer,
and every dryer is its own tiny revenue stream. One load might cost $3 or $4 to wash and a few more to dry. One machine running a handful of cycles a day doesn't sound impressive, but multiply that by 20, 30, or 40 machines running from morning until late at night, 7 days a week, and those little payments turn into a steady, pulsing flow of cash. The business doesn't rely on big, dramatic purchases. It lives on hundreds of small, predictable transactions driven by one simple fact. Clothes always get dirty again.
It just goes on forever.
What makes this model so powerful is how automated it becomes once it's set up. The owner doesn't have to stand behind a counter convincing anyone to buy. There are no sales calls, no negotiations, no closing the client. Customers walk in with baskets and bags, exchange bills for coins, or load credit onto a card, and do the work themselves. Load, start, unload. The machines handle the actual washing and drying. The customer provides the labor. The owner keeps the spread between what each cycle costs to run and what each cycle costs to use. That spread exists because the biggest costs in a laundromat are front-loaded. Buying or leasing the space, installing plumbing and electrical lines.
I told them the pressure
Purchasing
valves were
commercial-grade
failing.
washers and dryers,
Just shut it down.
setting up ventilation, drainage, and signage. Once all that infrastructure is in place, the cost of running one more load, water, electricity, or gas, a bit of wear and tear on the machine, is relatively low compared to what each customer pays. The more turns per day each machine does, the more those fixed costs get diluted across cycles, and the more every additional load tilts toward profit instead of just covering the rent. Owners who share their numbers often describe the same learning curve. The first few months are about tuning the system, figuring out which hours are busiest, adjusting prices, understanding the neighborhood's rhythms, and seeing how many machines are truly necessary at peak times. But once that pattern emerges, the business stops feeling chaotic and starts feeling like a steady heartbeat. Weekends spike, weekdays smooth out. Seasonal changes appear but rarely rewrite the story. The volume becomes predictable enough to plan around. Another quiet advantage, staffing. Compared to many other local businesses, a coin laundromat can run on very few people. A cafe needs baristas. A store needs clerks. A restaurant needs an entire team every shift. A laundromat can, in some cases, operate unattended for large portions of the day, or with one person on duty to clean, help customers, and keep an eye on the place. Someone still has to empty coin boxes, maintain equipment, and handle customer issues, but the daily operation is driven far more by systems than by constant human presence. On top of the core self-service income, many owners layer on small, strategic extras that quietly increase the value of each visit. A vending machine with snacks and drinks. A dispenser selling single-use packets of detergent, softener, or bleach. Bigger, mega-load machines priced higher for comforters and large families. TVs or arcade machines that keep people occupied while they wait. Paid Wi-Fi. Each element adds a few dollars here and there, but across hundreds of customers a week, they noticeably raise the average ticket per visit without significantly increasing costs. There's also the cash flow pattern that attracts a certain type of entrepreneur. Customers pay before they start the cycle. There are no invoices to chase, no 30-day payment terms, no overdue accounts. Money comes in upfront, day after day, as long as the doors are open and the machines are working. For someone used to project-based or client-based income, the idea of a business where revenue trickles in simply because people need clean clothes can feel almost unreal. Of course, it's not risk-free. A poorly chosen location can mean weak demand. Rents can rise faster than revenue. Machines can break down and require expensive repairs. A new competitor can open nearby and split the local traffic. But the core logic remains. Once the infrastructure is in place and the neighborhood's laundry habits are understood, every basket that walks through the door is another small, repeatable unit of income. And that's the moment the idea stops being, I own a laundromat, and becomes something more structural. If one room full of machines can reliably turn constant human habits into cash flow, What happens when you take that same model, copy it into
These
another
pumps feed
neighborhood,
directly
and then
into the
another,
main system.
until those humming drums form a quiet network of locations all spinning, earning, and compounding together.
This works perfectly.
Turning one profitable laundromat into a bigger system doesn't stop at coins and machines. The moment an owner starts thinking beyond a single location, they run into a bigger question. How do you make a customer feel loyal to a laundromat?
This is amazing!
Something that, on the surface, has zero brand personality.
Watch as
The answer is quietly reshaping the entire industry. Subscriptions and memberships. Instead of paying per load, a growing number of laundromats now offer flat monthly plans, unlimited washes, a fixed number of loads, or discounted bundles for regulars. On paper, it looks like a small pricing tweak. In reality, it rewires the entire relationship between the business
With
and the
this new
customer.
design, we'll double our
Once someone
capacity.
commits to a membership, their decision-making disappears. They stop comparing prices between the laundromat down the street and the one across town. They stop weighing whether it's worth it to do laundry today versus tomorrow. The commitment is already made. And using the service more often just feels like getting more value out of something they've already paid for. That single psychological
Everything
shift
is overflowing.
from paying
Do
every
something.
time
I
to
am.
already paid,
turn off
just
the
show
main-
up, is what turns an
Experience the
occasional
ultimate
visitor
clean
into a
with our
habitual one.
state-of-the-art foam brush.
For the business, the impact on cash flow is just as significant. Coin-operated laundromats live and die by daily foot traffic. A slow week, bad weather, or a nearby competitor can shake the numbers.
These
A membership
projections
base
are amazing.
changes that. Revenue arrives predictably, once a month, regardless of how busy any single day happens to be. That predictability is what allows serious operators to plan renovations, hire staff, or expand into new locations without gambling on unpredictable walk-in volume. This is also where laundry starts blending with something bigger: full-service convenience. Beyond machines that customers operate themselves, many businesses now offer wash and fold and pickup and delivery services layered on top of the same physical infrastructure. A customer schedules a pickup online. A driver collects the bag, the same washers and dryers that serve walk-ins process the load, and it's returned neatly folded within a day or two. The self-service side keeps the lights on with steady daily transactions, while the delivery side captures customers who are willing to pay significantly more just to remove the errand from their life entirely. That layered approach means a single laundromat isn't really one business. It's 2 or 3 revenue models stacked on the same square footage. A student pays $4 to run their own load. A busy professional a few blocks away pays $30 a month for a service that quietly handles laundry without them ever setting foot inside. Both transactions flow through the same machines, the same water lines, the same electricity meter. But the second customer generates dramatically more value per pound of laundry without needing extra space to do it. None of this requires reinventing the industry. It just requires borrowing an idea that other subscription-based businesses have already proven works. Make paying feel invisible, and usage becomes automatic. Once that mechanism is in place, growth stops depending purely on attracting new walk-in customers and starts depending on retaining the ones already inside the system. And once an owner sees how membership and delivery layers multiply revenue per customer, the next challenge becomes obvious. If a handful of machines packed into a single storefront can generate this much recurring income, what happens once you start looking at how far the automation and systems behind the scenes can actually go? At first glance, the numbers behind a laundromat look almost too small to matter. A few dollars per wash, a few more per dry, some coins rattling into metal slots. But when you zoom in on a single load and then zoom back out across an entire day, week, or year, you start to see why this small business can feed into a billion-dollar industry. Each wash cycle is its own tiny unit of economics. On the revenue side, a customer might pay, for example, $3.5 to wash and $2.4 to dry, depending on the size of the machine and the local market. On the cost side, that same load consumes water, electricity, or gas, a sliver of the machine's lifespan,
and a fraction of the rent and utilities.
This is ridiculous.
The crucial detail is that most of the heavy costs, buying the machines, building out the space, installing plumbing and electrical, are fixed. They don't change whether a washer runs once a day or 10 times. Which means that after a certain point, every additional load leans more toward profit than toward paying the bills. Imagine one medium-sized washer doing 5 cycles a day at $4 each. That's $20 from just one machine. Multiply that by 20 or 30 washers, then add a bank of dryers charging for each cycle, and suddenly, one modest-looking store can generate hundreds or even thousands of dollars in gross revenue on a busy day. The cost of utilities rises with volume, but nowhere near as fast as the income does once the store crosses its break-even line. That's classic operating leverage. The bigger the volume, the more each extra load falls through to the bottom line instead of getting eaten up by overhead.
Scan your membership.
There's another quiet advantage baked into the model, the way customers pay. In most laundromats, payment happens before the service is delivered, through coins, stored value cards, or apps. There are no invoices to chase, no customers paying 30 days late, no collections. Money hits the business up front, cycle by cycle, all day long. For a small operator, that kind of immediate cash flow is incredibly valuable. It simplifies planning, smooths over short-term shocks, and reduces the stress that comes from waiting on other people's promises. When a laundromat adds wash and fold services, the economics become even more interesting. Instead of selling machine time, the business sells a complete outcome. Drop off your bag, pick it up later. Everything clean and folded. The price per pound or per bag is much higher than self-service because you're now charging for labor and convenience. But the backbone of the operation is still the same machines, the same utilities, the same rent.
You're simply stacking another layer of value on top. Staff can batch loads efficiently, mixing similar fabrics, filling machines fully, running dryers at optimal capacity, which means each hour of work and each cycle of a machine produces more revenue than a self-service model alone could. Commercial clients push this even further. A small restaurant might send out tablecloths and aprons every few days. A gym might need towels cleaned daily. A salon or spa might rely on fresh linens for every client. When a laundry business signs a contract with these kinds of customers, it turns sporadic demand into scheduled, recurring volume. The price per pound may be lower than retail to reflect the scale, but the predictability of those loads allows the owner to plan staffing, machine usage, and even expansion with much more confidence. All of this happens on the same fixed foundation, a space full of machines connected to water, power, and drains. The goal isn't just to have them installed. It's to keep them turning as many hours per day as possible. The more loads you can push through that infrastructure, and the more ways you can monetize each pound of laundry, self-service, drop-off, commercial, subscription, the better your numbers look. You're not rebuilding a business each time. You're pouring more volume into the same system. When you step back and look at the industry as a whole, that's why the laundry market reaches into the tens of billions. Thousands of local operators, each running the same small, leveraged unit model in their own neighborhoods, collectively form a giant, quiet machine. One laundromat might just provide a solid living for its owner, but together, they create an entire network of revenue streams built on the simple, relentless fact that clothes never stop getting dirty. And that's before you add technology, automation, and scale on top, turning a room full of humming drums into something closer to infrastructure than a single corner business. Walk into a modern laundromat, and it can feel like the place runs itself. The doors unlock on schedule, the lights come on automatically, machines blink with digital displays, cameras quietly watch every corner, and payments happen via cards or apps instead of rusty coin slots. It looks simple from the outside, but behind that apparent simplicity is a deliberate shift from standing in a shop all day to managing a system from anywhere. For the owner, the game is no longer about being physically present. It's about building infrastructure.
Remote cameras show what's happening in the store in real time. Smart locks and timers control when doors open and close. Payment systems track exactly how many cycles each machine runs and how much revenue each one generates. Instead of counting quarters by hand and guessing which machines are doing well, the owner can open a dashboard on a laptop or phone and see the health of the entire operation in a few seconds. That changes what daily work looks like. Instead of spending 10 hours behind a counter, the owner spends time designing and refining systems, cleaning routines, maintenance schedules, cash collection routes, and standard responses for common problems. A machine error, a jammed door, a customer complaint. Each one gets a clear procedure. Staff, if they're present, aren't improvising. They're following a playbook. The result is fewer surprises, faster fixes, and more uptime for the machines that actually make the money. Automation also reshapes staffing needs. Many laundromats now run partially or even fully unattended during non-peak hours. An attendant might come in for the busiest parts of the day to handle wash and fold orders, clean and help customers, then leave the store under the watch of cameras and sensors. If something goes wrong, a door forced open, a machine fault, a power issue, alerts go straight to the owner's phone. People still matter, but their time is concentrated where it adds the most value, instead of being spread thin across every hour the store is open. Once a single location runs smoothly with this level of automation, scaling stops being a vague dream and becomes a practical decision. The owner already knows what size store and how many machines make sense for a given neighborhood, what rent and utility costs fit inside a profitable model, how many hours of on-site staff are actually required, and how much remote oversight one person can realistically handle. Opening a second or third location isn't starting over, it's copying a template. Same types of machines, same payment system, same security setup, same operating procedures, adapted to a new area.
Technology ties everything together. Centralized accounting, shared customer support channels, standard pricing and promotions, and even unified subscription or membership programs that work across multiple stores. At that point, the business starts to behave less like a single mom-and-pop shop and more like a small piece of infrastructure. Each store is a node. Each node is filled with machines that convert time, water, and electricity into small, repeated payments. Together, they form a network that spreads both risk and reward. If one location has a slow month, others can help smooth out the overall cash flow. If a new opportunity appears in a growing neighborhood, the same system can extend there with far less guesswork than the first time. The more locations run on the same playbook, the more the owner's role shifts again, from operator to architect. The day-to-day question is no longer how many people walked in today, but is the system doing what it's supposed to do across every store? When the answer is yes, that's when a business that started as just a laundromat starts to look like something much bigger. A quiet, automated grid of machines and processes turning everyday human habits into a scalable, controllable flow of income. If you want, next we can clean up and rewrite chapters 7 and 8 in the same style, so the whole laundry script is fully consistent and ready to use. The basic laundromat sells machine time. The smart laundromat sells everything wrapped around that machine time. Because once someone has dragged a heavy bag of clothes to your door, loaded the washers, and committed the next hour to being in your space, you're no longer fighting for their attention. You're deciding how much value you can offer them while they're already there. It starts with the simplest upgrade: wash and fold. Instead of waiting through cycles, a customer can drop off a bag in a few seconds and come back later to a clean, folded stack. The price per pound or per bag is much higher than self-service, but the promise is clear. You're not just paying to use a machine, you're paying to never think about this chore today. For the business, the same machines that serve walk-in customers now generate extra revenue from people who value time more than money. The only meaningful extra cost is labor, and even that can be batched and scheduled against predictable daily volume. Then come the business clients. A yoga studio that burns through towels every day. A barbershop or salon that needs fresh capes and linens. A small hotel or a cluster of short-term rentals that live or die on clean sheets. Each one is essentially a recurring laundry subscription waiting to be formalized. Once a laundromat offers pickup and delivery, it stops being just a destination and starts becoming a service route. A driver's path through the city turns into a loop of value. Dirty out, clean in, invoices aligned to weekly or monthly cycles. One solid contract can be worth dozens of individual walk-ins, and it uses the same core infrastructure. Inside the store, upsells don't have to be aggressive to be effective. Detergent and softener vending machines capture customers who forgot or ran out. Larger family size or mega load machines feel like a better deal for big loads, but carry a higher price per cycle. Premium programs, gentle wash, extra rinse, sanitary cycles can be priced slightly above the standard options, turning what looks like a simple setting into incremental revenue. Over time, many customers default to those mid- or top-tier choices because they sound safer, cleaner, or more thorough. Even the waiting time can be monetized without feeling predatory. A vending machine with snacks and drinks, basic coffee, arcade machines or screens for kids, comfortable seating near outlets so people can work while they wait. Each detail nudges the average ticket per visit a little higher. No single upsell changes the business alone, but together they create a layered experience where the laundromat earns more from the same foot traffic and the same loads of laundry. Digital tools can turn these upsell layers into a repeatable engine. An app or simple loyalty program might offer points for each visit, discounts for wash and fold, or perks for subscription members. Notifications can remind customers when their wash is done or when a promotion is running. Drop off today, get 10% off your next bag. Or sign up for monthly wash and fold and save on every load. The goal isn't just to squeeze more out of each visit. It's to gently shift behavior from occasional, price-focused visits to regular, habit-driven usage. At that point, the laundromat stops looking like a static room with machines and starts looking like a revenue stack. The base layer is self-service. Above that, drop-off. Above that, commercial accounts. Wrapped around all of it, convenience, subscriptions, delivery, and small, thoughtful add-ons that make people feel like they're buying back their time, not just renting a drum and some hot water. And once the business is built this way, a single basket of clothes is no longer just one load. It's an opportunity to decide how many problems you solve for that customer, and how many of those solutions quietly turn into recurring, predictable income. You've seen laundromats your whole life. Small storefronts with fogged windows, humming machines, plastic chairs, and handwritten signs. They don't look like the kind of businesses people dream about owning. But when you put everything together, the constant demand, the unit economics, the automation, the subscriptions, the upsells, you start to realize these little spaces are pieces of a much larger, very real money machine. The real power of the laundry business is that it's built on a behavior that never goes away. People might change how they shop, how they watch movies, how they communicate, but they don't stop needing clean clothes. Students, families, tenants in small apartments, busy professionals, small businesses with uniforms and linens, gyms, salons, clinics, all of them feed into the same cycle. Wear, dirty, wash, repeat. A well-run laundry business doesn't invent demand. It simply stands in the path of that cycle and quietly charges a toll every time clothes move from dirty to clean. When you strip the model down, it's surprisingly elegant. At the base, there's self-service. Customers pay upfront to use machines that cost a lot to install, but relatively little to run per load. On top of that, there's wash and fold. The same machines, but now the business sells time and convenience instead of just access. On top of that, there are commercial contracts,
recurring, scheduled loads for local businesses that rely on spotless textiles to operate. Wrap all of this in subscriptions, memberships, and pickup and delivery routes, and you've turned a single location shop into a recurring revenue system with multiple income streams stacked on the same fixed infrastructure. What makes this especially interesting is how small each piece looks from the outside. One store might just net a comfortable income for its owner. One wash and fold route might just cover a few neighborhoods. One contract with a restaurant might just add another predictable block of weekly volume.
But multiply that across a city, across a region, across thousands of operators doing the same thing in their own markets, and you get an industry measured in billions of dollars. Not because any single transaction is huge, but because the underlying behavior never stops. It also challenges the way people think about serious business. A lot of aspiring entrepreneurs chase ideas that sound exciting, apps, platforms, brands that look good on social media. Laundry doesn't have that glow. It's not a status business. Yet in practice, it embodies many of the principles that business books and case studies keep repeating. Focus on a real, repeating problem. Build systems instead of chaos. Favor cash flow over hype. Use automation and process to reduce how much hinges on you personally. Once you see that, a laundromat stops being a dull background detail and starts looking like infrastructure. A small but sturdy cash flow asset plugged directly into everyday life. One store can be a strong standalone business. A cluster of stores, connected by shared systems and technology, starts to look like a quiet network that turns time, water, and electricity into steady income with very little storytelling required. So the next time you walk past a worn-out "Open 24 hours" sign and hear the faint thump of dryers behind a fogged window, you're not just looking at a place where people wash clothes. You're looking at one tiny, visible fragment of a hidden billion-dollar laundry business, built not on noise or attention, but on the simple, relentless fact that laundry never stops.